astrology. Now, I'm not going to try and teach you astrology. There's lots of resources around to do that. And anyway, I don't have the time to mess with that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to explain to you my way of thinking as to how astrology works, and perhaps more importantly, why it works. Now, a lot of astrologers just go along with the fact that, well, it works, and they don't need to bother with the mechanics of how it works or even why it works. They just say, well, it works, I've tried it, it works, that's great. And I was like that. But now, as I remember when I first studying astrology, it was at night school, and the venue had to be changed. Why? Because it was apparently a faith school that it was in. And this faith school, who shall be remain nameless, decided that they didn't want astrology being taught in their schools. Okay, so what's that about, how it works? Well, for the first time in my life, I started to realize that there was some kind of intelligence and order in the universe. Okay, broadly say, well, is that God? So there's me coming to God, and the church says, no, go away. Okay, so I did, and we changed venue, and the rest is history. So, yes, astrology does work, and it's been proved to work all the time. Sometimes, of course, it's not quite right. Now, is that the fault of astrology, or is it the fault of the astrologer? I'm going to go with the fault of the astrologer, because astrology works. It just might not work in the way that some astrologers would like it to work. So how does it work? Well, that's not an easy question to answer straight off the bat, because there's quite a bit to it that needs to be explored. I mean, I could go into it all, and I'd have to make a good 20 videos on it before we even got started. So I'm just going to let it happen, and you can either take what you find and run with it, or you can try and look for other ways to understand it. But I guess it started with the idea of, well, what they now call spiritual astrology, or astrology of the soul. And I've looked at that, and a very interesting subject, astrology of the soul. What does the soul want, and all that. And I've worked with some fruitful work with Arabic parts. Look it up, very good. So the main issue with it, though, that doesn't tell us, it opens a door to it being some kind of spirituality by recognizing that we perhaps have a soul. And I know that's debatable, of course it is. But let's assume we do have a soul, then that kind of astrology works really well, because it works, but only on an intuitive level, only on the level where you just feel that's right. And when you apply the teachings of spiritual astrology or Arabic parts, you seem to know, okay, this is working, this is okay. So there you go, that works fine. How does it work? Well, the premise is quite simple. The premise is that everything in the universe itself, is made from consciousness. Did I say that right? Consciousness. What is consciousness? Well, it's a lot more than what a lot of people think. We're not talking about, oh, I woke up, therefore I'm conscious. Consciousness is a force in the universe. It's where everything comes from. And you're just going to have to take my word for this right now. But I encourage you to make further research into that. So everything, even matter, is consciousness. I say is conscious, not does have consciousness, because that can get confusing to a lot of people. It confused me for a while. So does a rock have consciousness? No, a rock is consciousness, because that is the only thing that the universe is made of. Okay? I know, it's difficult. Matter comes out of consciousness. So a lot of people believe that the earth is conscious. The earth is a living being. You know, people love the earth, so, you know, want to look after the earth, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's wonderful. So if the earth is conscious and living, what about the other planets? So supposing the other planets are all conscious and living, where does that lead us? Well, it leads us into some strange territory, doesn't it? Because one thing about consciousness is that it's everywhere. I said, it is the universe. The universe is consciousness. And there can't be a place where there is no consciousness. So that in a way kind of does away with the old argument that, oh, astrology can't be true because the planets are too far away. Well, maybe the physical thing on a material level, they are too far away. But on a consciousness level, on a spiritual level, no, they're not too far away. They're right here. They're here all the time. All that happens is that we become aware of them. So there we have the awareness and consciousness. What's the difference? Well, consciousness is everywhere. Awareness is where consciousness is for you. So where does it make an apparent appearance? Is when you're aware. I don't know whether I'm explaining that well or not. Probably not. But anyway. So if a planet is conscious, if it is a conscious being, if it is a part of the universe, then the movement of that planet is a representation of what that planet, what that consciousness is up to. What role is it playing at this moment in time? How is it operating? Well, obviously, we were talking about astrology, so it's operating through a birth chart, through your birth chart. It is interacting with your energy signature, because consciousness is energy. And that interaction is based on what? Is it based on, the position of the actual physical planet is in through the zodiac, the signs of the zodiac? Is it through the position it occupies in the houses, the day charts of where you're at in the world? Yes and no. Yes and no. That is a representation of the type of energy that's available to you right then. When you look and you say, oh, I've got a transit of Uranus coming up, that's because it's coming to some relationship to a planet in your chart. But it could be any time. Some people believe in a sort of astrotheurgy, that is astro magic. So where you can call in the energies of these planets to sort of try and understand them or do some work on that aspect of yourself. But the main thing about it is that it's not a rock, it's consciousness, it's a being. So this being is interacting with you. Now, obviously, in an interaction, it's not a one-way thing. It's not, oh, you got something in you got, what is it, Mars is in Aquarius, was that song? That was crazy. You say, let's say you got Mars in Aquarius. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean the same for everybody, because everybody's different. Everybody's different and the same at the same time, of course. But it means that the way that that consciousness of Mars will interact with your birth chart, with your own energy, depends on a certain factor of, well, where are you now? When I meet somebody, I need to know what they're like. And so the consciousness of the planets needs to know what you like, where you're at, what you've done in your life. What can we improve on? How can we change things for the better? So when you get a transit, that people will prognose on, they will say, oh, this means that. If this, then that. That is no way to run astrology. But anyway, people do. You can get it in all the cookbooks, you know. The transit of Mars means this. Well, this again leads us to problems with people believing that we know what we're talking about. Because it depends not only on you, not only on your free will, on the choices you've made in your life so far, it also depends on the planet. It depends on that consciousness of the planet Mars. It depends on what that planet wants for you. Yes, I said that. It depends on what that planet wants for you. And that leads us on to the second part, doesn't it, of why does it work? It works. Why does astrology work? It works to bring harmony of consciousness to the universe. Astrology brings harmony to the consciousness of the universe. And you're a part of that consciousness. And you're a part of that consciousness. So you're playing a part in this grand scheme of things. And this is why astrology works. I don't know how else to say. Well, I do know what else to say, but I don't have time to say it. So maybe for another thing. But let's just sort of take that and say, okay, you've said a lot of weird things to me. I'll let that stew inside me. So do that. Just let it stew inside you and see what reactions you get. Now, one final important thing, and I must say this. Although it's very spiritual and although it's about the sort of how the universe works and everything, I am not advocating an astrotheology, right? It's not a religion. No astrotheology here, okay? Unless you think that the universe consists solely of our solar system, then I suppose you can work it in. But to me, no, the solar system is just one part of the universe. You know that. A trillionth part of it. So there's so much more. So no, don't think of it as astrotheology. But there is a lot going on there for you to consider and you to sort of intuit into your head, okay? Maybe that's it. Let's try that for now, okay?